15 types of leases every real estate agent and investor should know. Whether you're renting your first apartment, managing commercial property, or investing in land, understanding lease types is a game changer. Today, I'm breaking down 15 common leases in real estate, from the simple gross lease to the more complex triple net, so you'll know exactly what you're dealing with before signing any agreement. Gross lease. This is where the tenant pays a fixed rent, and the landlord covers property expenses like taxes, insurance, and maintenance. For example, you rent an apartment for $1,500 a month, and your landlord pays for utilities and upkeep. Net lease. The tenant pays rent plus some or all property expenses. For instance, a business rents an office for $2,000 a month and also pays for property taxes and insurance. Single net lease, N. The tenant pays rent plus property taxes. For example, a retail shop pays $1,200 in rent plus $300 in property taxes. Double net lease, NN. The tenant pays rent plus property taxes and insurance. For instance, a restaurant tenant pays $2,500 rent, $400 taxes, and $200 insurance. Triple net lease, NNN. The tenant pays rent plus taxes, insurance, and maintenance. For example, a clothing store pays $5,000 rent plus all building costs. Percentage lease. The tenant pays base rent plus a percentage of their sales. For instance, a mall shop pays $1,000 rent plus 5% of monthly sales. Full service lease. All services, like utilities and cleaning, are included in the rent. For example, a company rents an office and has electricity, water, and janitorial services included. Modified gross lease. A mix of gross and net lease where expenses are shared. For instance, you pay rent plus your own utilities, while the landlord covers taxes and insurance. Ground lease. You lease land, usually long-term, and may build on it. For example, a fast food chain leases land for 30 years to build a restaurant. Sandwich lease. The original tenant leases to someone else but still has a lease with the landlord. For instance, you rent an office building and sublease part of it to another business. Fixed lease. Rent stays the same for the entire term. For example, a 2-year lease at $1,400 per month with no increases. Step-up lease. Rent increases at set times. For instance, a 5-year lease starts at $2,000 a month and goes up $100 each year. Graduated lease. Rent changes based on a preset schedule, often tied to business growth. For example, a startup pays lower rent in the first year, increasing as revenue grows. Absolute net lease. The tenant is responsible for all expenses, even major repairs. For instance, a big box retailer leases a store and pays for every cost, including roof replacement. Month-to-month lease. A flexible lease renewed monthly. For example, you rent an apartment without a long-term commitment, paying month by month. Leases can be simple or complex, but knowing the differences protects you from surprises. Whether you're a tenant, landlord, or investor, understanding these 15 types can save you money and headaches. Which lease type have you dealt with the most? Let me know in the comments.